Ladies and gentlemen, may I just begin by thanking you for giving me this opportunity to speak about the importance of Europe's traditional hay meadows. This topic has long been a particular interest to me, and I'm delighted that today's meeting will recognise the vital role that these meadows play, as well as, hopefully, going some way to ensuring their continued role in the future. Now, I'm only sorry that I am unable to be with you in person and am forced instead to appear in this rather disembodied but wonderfully low-carbon form. Despite a commitment by the European Union and its member states, I'm afraid it is the case that traditionally managed lowland and upland meadows are continuing to decline. In part, this is because many are simply being abandoned. It is also the result of intensification and conversion to pastures for grazing. Well, this is a tragedy on many levels. Not only do these meadows form part of Europe's most spectacularly beautiful landscapes that are rich in vital biodiversity, they also play a hugely significant role in today's rural economy. These grassland ecosystems support many rural incomes. They are the basis of numerous products, from meat, milk, traditional cheeses and honey to herbs, dyes and medicinal plants. And as they enable those commodities to be produced, so our mosaic of hay meadows also provides a range of vital ecological services. Everything from insect pollination, biological pest control and soil formation, to carbon and nitrogen fixing, the cycling of nutrients, and the conservation of water. And above and beyond all of these things, let us not forget that these meadows also comprise an irreplaceable gene bank of grasses, legumes, and other incredibly valuable agricultural and horticultural plants. They are, in the final analysis, profoundly and uniquely beautiful, and as such, an essential balm to what is left of our troubled, disconnected souls. And yet, ladies and gentlemen, these ecological and spiritual benefits are being lost. Farmers are having to abandon their old hay meadows, largely because they demand so much farm labour. The economic squeeze is further exacerbated because sales of the resulting products have to compete with those from large-scale farms with their high inputs of chemical fertilizers and herbicides. So, the big question has to be, how do we strike the right balance between the need for small farms to be viable and able to create healthy economic returns, and the great need to maintain these valuable natural resources that provide so many benefits of biodiversity? I recently gave this message to the UNESCO Conference on Landscapes because, for me, this is one of the most pressing concerns for our international leaders, especially in such an uncertain economic climate. All too often, today's much vaunted progress is causing ecosystems to fragment and, in some cases, draw close to collapse. And as they do so, landscapes are destroyed and farming communities that depend upon them are damaged or displaced. Is this what we really want to happen for the long term? Last year, for example, I visited the Pogan-Hovosh region in Romania, where, tragically, these meadows are disappearing at a frightening rate. In a study by the Pogan-Hovosh Association in 2011, an astonishing 86% of meadows in a 60 square kilometre area of the Cheek Mountains were not mown. And Romania is not the only country in which this is happening. In the United Kingdom, 97% of species-rich grassland has been lost since the Second World War, making upland meadows one of the most rare and threatened habitats in the United Kingdom. Perhaps ironically, I've heard recently that this year's poor rainfall distribution in Romania has meant that a greater area of meadows has been mown to compensate for poor hay yields. All the same, urgent action is needed to improve the viability of these valuable and vulnerable areas of hay meadows and other semi-natural grasslands. They need protecting for so many reasons, not least because they provide the habitat to exceptional numbers of butterflies, other insects, and bird life. It is not impossible to save these meadows, though. Their abandonment can be reversed. There are plenty of ways of doing so. Removing barriers to production, marketing, improving agri-environment schemes to increase their effectiveness and uptake, and stimulating a market for milk and other products of local cattle farming, to name but a few. It comes down to the need for member states to support local farmers under the sort of strategy that encourages stewardship of the landscape as a whole, especially given the intricate link between hay meadows and other agricultural practices. We need effective programs that offer mutually supportive measures. Thankfully, there are already a host of initiatives in place that offer subsidies which regulate farming activities. Perhaps it might be useful to revisit these measures to ensure that they contribute to efficient and sustainable farming systems, and then coupling them with investments in beneficial marketing initiatives. I also wonder whether information derived from data collection could make an enormous difference. With more data, decision makers and farmers will be better able to measure this precious resource, monitoring exactly how much is being lost and why. This information can then be used to help design a framework which could encourage member states to plan programs and policies that assist them in achieving the targets they have already agreed to, such as the biodiversity strategy target. Without such tools, the impact of policies and strategies is impossible to observe. There are, thank goodness, examples where progress has already been made. I've seen for myself one of the case studies that you will hear about today in Transylvania, where an integrated program led by the Pogan Hovosh Association is recording and monitoring hay meadow biodiversity, working to provide higher incomes for farmers by adding value to milk from biodiversity-rich meadows and informing policymakers by organizing events such as this one today. Initiatives like these are essential if we intend to foster an understanding of farming communities. Sharing information like this can only aid the longer-term sustainability of rural communities, which are so important for the protection of our countryside and for food security in general. Hay meadows provide an immense range of benefits to farming communities and wider society. They create some of Europe's most spectacular scenery and cultural landscapes. Simply to watch this natural, environmental, and cultural heritage disappear before our eyes is surely not an option we can consider. I, for one, for what it's worth, am certainly not prepared to accept it as an option and have already been taking scything lessons this summer. Now, I need hardly say, ladies and gentlemen, that I can only hope this morning's discussion will pave the way for more definitive action, and I very much look forward to hearing of your decisions.